Hello guys. This is Real Recaps. In this video, I would talk about a 2021 American coming-of-age supernatural horror film, The Black Phone. Before we start, I hope you guys will like and subscribe to the channel. In 1978, North Denver, kids and parents are gathered for a Little League baseball game. Finney is pitching, with his sister, Gwen, cheering him on. Finney manages to throw 2 balls that get strikes, but on the third, another player, Bruce, hits the ball and scores a home run, leading his team to a win. Despite the loss, Bruce commends Finney for his arm. Bruce is later seen riding his bike around town, greeting some girls from school along the way. Then a black van pulls up in front of Bruce and he stops in his tracks. Finney and Gwen live with their father, an abusive alcoholic, still mourning the loss of his wife and the kid's mother after she committed suicide. As the siblings start walking to school, they see a crowd of kids gathered, as the school bully, Moose, is antagonizing another kid named Robin. To everyone's surprise, Robin is skilled at fighting and dominates Moose, beating his face to a bloody pulp. Finney and Gwen keep walking, with Gwen mentioning a local kidnapper known only as the Grabber since they have learned that Bruce has gone missing. At school, Finney is bullied by 3 boys who follow him into the bathroom and call him names. Robin enters and threatens the bullies if they mess with Finney. Robin also encourages Finney to stand up for himself. Meanwhile, 2 detectives come to the school and speak to Gwen in the principal's office, since she knows details relating to the missing children taken by the Grabber that never released to the public. Gwen claims she has dreams, but she cannot explain the meaning behind these dreams. The next day, Finney wakes up to find his father beating Gwen because of the cops visiting his job and asking questions regarding Gwen's dreams. Gwen breaks her dad's liquor bottle, and he beats her harder. He orders Gwen to say that her dreams are not real, as her mother had similar dreams that were believed to be premonitions. Later on, Robin is seen walking around the neighborhood. He then turns the corner and finds the Grabber waiting for him. Parents around the neighborhood are informed about Robin's disappearance. When Gwen tries to comfort Finney about it, he asks if she can do the dream thing, but she says it doesn't work that way. The next day, the bullies at school go after Finney and start to beat him, but Gwen defends him by whacking one bully over the head with a rock, causing him to bleed a lot. Gwen gets kicked in the face and the other 2 bullies continue to beat Finney. Later during class, Finney is paired up with his crush, Donna, as his science partner. She offers sympathies for Finney getting beaten. Finney splits from Gwen as they walk home, and he encounters the Grabber's van. He poses as a regular man, spilling his groceries, but once Finney spots the black balloons, the Grabber attacks Finney and sprays his mouth with a chemical to knock him out before he's thrown into the van. The Grabber brings Finney to his basement and keeps him prisoner. The Grabber starts taunting Finney as he's gaining consciousness. After the Grabber leaves, Finney starts looking around the room. On the wall is a black phone that is disconnected. Gwen and other kids from school soon learn that Finney is missing. Finley then hears a ringing from the black phone. When he picks up the phone, the Grabber appears and says that the phone hasn't been working since he's a kid, but he does say that he has heard ringing before. He claims that the room is soundproof, and there is no way for anyone to hear him if he screams. Later, the phone rings again, and Finney answers it. He hears the voice of Bruce, who notes Finney's arm in baseball, calling it Mint. However, Bruce doesn't remember his own name or what he did when he was alive. Bruce gives Finney a tip about a space in the floor where he can move a tile and begin digging. Finney spends his time digging and flushing the dirt down the toilet. Meanwhile, Gwen has a dream where she sees a flashback of Bruce's life from childhood and his developing interest in baseball. She then sees Finney trapping in a house. She wakes up and rides her bike around the neighborhood to find the exact house, but can't find it. The Grabber brings food for breakfast, assuring him the food is clean. He also leaves the door unlocked, but as Finney walks toward it, he hears the phone ringing again, and he hears the voice of a local paper boy named Billy. While talking to Finney, his ghost appears next to him, his face having been slashed by the Grabber. Billy tells Finney that the unlocked door is a trap and the grabber will be waiting upstairs for him, with a belt. After the call ends, Finney opens the door, but changes his mind and starts eating instead. He then gets another call from Billy. Billy mentions a cable he left in a crack under the wall. Finney grabs a rolled-up mat and slides the cable up to the window bars and attempts to climb his way out, but his weight causes the bars to get pulled off, leaving him with no way to get back up. Gwen has another dream, showing Billy's life as a paper boy, delivering with his dog, before the grabber got him. She talks to her father about her dreams. He says that her mother would talk about having dreams that are visions just like Gwen does, and he thinks this drove her to commit suicide, so he wants to prevent Gwen from falling down the same path. The detectives go around the neighborhood and speak to a man named Max, who is doing his own investigation into the missing kids. He tells the detectives that he is staying with his brother for the time being. The grabber comes down to the basement again and asks Finney his name, but when he lies about it, he throws Finney a newspaper showing the news of his disappearance. When he leaves, the phone rings again, and Finney speaks to a boy named Griffin. His ghost appears floating beside Finney, and Griffin tells him about a lock combination that he had written down. This is part of a game the grabber likes to play with his victims, called Naughty Boy, and the door is left unlocked. Finney finds the numbers, but Griffin cannot remember the exact combo. While the grabber is sleeping, Finney sneaks upstairs and tries every combo he can think of, until he unlocks the door. Unfortunately, the grabber's dog barks at the sound of the unlocking, which wakes up the grabber. Finney runs out of the house, and only makes it barely down the street before the grabber catches him. Neighbors turn on their lights, but the grabber threatens to kill Finney right then and there if he makes a sound. He waits until the lights turn off before taking Finney back. The phone rings again later, but this time, Finney hears the voice of a local punk named Vance Hopper. A flashback shows Vance at an arcade, where he fought with two kids, after one of them messed with his high score. He was arrested shortly after. In the flashback, Gwen finds herself alongside Vance, who is talking to Finney through the police radio, but Finney cannot hear Gwen calling out to him. They end up at a house, where Gwen tries to remember the number before she wakes up. Finney listens to Vance's advice and finds a space behind the wall, where there is a freezer. Finney tries to push through the door as hard as he can, but to no avail. He begins crying, fearing that he will die there. The phone rings one more time, and he answers. It's Robin, and he remembers both Finney and his own life. He tells Finney that he was always his friend, and that now is the time that he really needs to stand up for himself. Robin tells Finney to practice using the phone as a weapon and to fill the receiver with dirt, to add some heft to it. He then says that this is the last call before saying goodbye to him. Meanwhile, Gwen is seen riding her bike through the area to find the house and is spooked by the ghosts of the grabber's victims. She then sees the exact house, just like in her dreams. She returns home and contacts the detectives. While this happens, Max comes to the conclusion that the missing kids are in the house he is staying in because the grabber is his brother. He goes to the basement and is shocked to find Finney there. Just as Max attempts to help, the grabber kills him with an axe to the head. He then brings his dog down and ties it near the door to prevent Finney from escaping. He swings his axe at Finney, but the boy manages to dodge it and runs to the corner of the basement. It turns out that he sets up a rug over the hole he dug, using the cable to trip the grabber and drop him into the hole, where he breaks his ankle after it hits the bars from the window. Finney begins hitting on the grabber with the phone and then strangle him with the cord. The phone suddenly rings one last time. Finney forces the grabber to hear the voices of his victims taunting him over his demise, and Finney snaps his neck. He grabs a steak from the freezer and throws it to the dog to keep him distracted before going out of basement. Meanwhile, the detectives arrive at the house, along with Gwen. They search the house, but find it empty, until one officer finds the basement. Instead of finding Finney, the detectives find the bodies of the other 5 boys buried in the dirt. The house where Finney was being held is across the street. He unlocks the door and steps out into the sun, where Gwen sees him and runs to her brother. The authorities take care of the kids and they are picked up by their father, who tearfully apologizes to both of them for how he treated them. Finney returns to school, more confident than before. The other kids see him as a legend for killing the grabber, and the bullies no longer dare to mess with him. He rejoins Donna in science class, and he tells her to call him Finn. The end. Thanks for watching.